I found a fake calculator on my fiancée's phone that had thousands of messages about leaving me after the wedding. So I turned them into her vows and walked away from the life she planned to ruin. I'm 31. She's 29. We've been together almost 5 years, engaged for one. Stable, boring in the good way, predictable in the way you hope love eventually becomes. Or at least that's what I thought. The entire story starts with something stupid, so stupid I still feel embarrassed saying it out loud. A calculator app. Not a hidden folder, not a second phone, not a suspicious notification. A calculator. How I found it. About 3 months before the wedding, we were at her place, having one of those lazy Sunday mornings where you do nothing except exist near each other. Her phone buzzed on the counter while she was showering. I glanced at it, not to snoop, but because it kept lighting up. Same app, same icon, over and over. A calculator. Why was a calculator sending notifications? I picked it up. The calculator opened like a real one. Except when I hit 0-0-0-0, the screen flashed and asked for a full passcode. I froze. I'd never seen this thing before. And what hit me immediately wasn't paranoia. It was the birthday. His. Her ex. The one she swore she'd blocked years ago. I typed it. I don't even know why, but my brain did it before my conscience caught up. The vault opened. The first 5 seconds. In the first 5 seconds I saw a folder labeled after. Screenshots of our wedding emails and vendor details. Notes titled Exit Timeline and Financials. A list of items she'd want once she leaves. I felt like I was watching someone else hold the phone. Like my hands didn't belong to me. I clicked the messages. It wasn't 1 or 2 or 10. It was thousands. Messages between her and her ex, dating back over a year. Some were nostalgic, some sexual, some just petty, but the worst were the strategic ones. Cold, clinical planning of how she'd marry me, stabilize financially, save up, and then leave. Leave me. Leave our life. Leave with him. Her words about me. I read enough to make my stomach twist. He's safe. He's boring. He'll give me stability until I can transition out. I'll get the wedding gifts squared away before I move. He's emotionally predictable. He doesn't suspect anything. Things she said about me. The man who built her a home, paid deposits for our venue, helped her sick mother with bills, took care of her damn dog when she traveled. And then the one that broke something in me. I'll tell him after the honeymoon. Less messy. Less messy. Like my life was a drawer she needed to keep tidy. The evidence gathering. I didn't explode. I didn't cry. I didn't throw anything. I sat down at her dining table, opened my laptop, and started quietly backing up every single message, screenshot, note, and file. I wasn't acting like a man betrayed. I was acting like a man preparing a case. I exported the vault, copied everything to 2 separate drives, uploaded it to a private cloud, printed some of the worst ones. Then I put her phone back exactly as it was. When she came out of the shower, she kissed me on the cheek and said she wanted pancakes. I made pancakes. I listened to her laugh. I watched her put her arms around me. And the entire time, I knew. I knew what she really thought of me. I knew what she planned to do. I knew exactly how our story was supposed to end. But she didn't. The days after. The strangest part? I acted completely normal. I went to work. I helped finalize the catering order. I sat beside her at a meeting with our officiant. She held my hand the whole time. Meanwhile, when she was asleep, I was printing everything, hundreds of pages. Each one labeled, organized, chronological, not because I wanted revenge, because I wanted the truth preserved in the cleanest, coldest way possible. I knew I wouldn't be marrying her, but I also knew that if I walked now, she'd spin the story, play the victim, manipulate everyone, including herself. So I waited, quietly, strategically, patiently, for the perfect moment. And believe me, there was one. The weeks leading up to the wedding felt like living inside a split-screen movie. On one side, the version of me she still believed existed. On the other, the man quietly preparing to disappear from her life with surgical precision. I kept everything seamless. If anything, I became more attentive because the more comfortable she felt, the sloppier she became. She stopped hiding her phone from me altogether. She left it face up, unlocked. She took calls in the bathroom, but stopped lowering her voice. She believed she had already won. Meanwhile, I was printing, organizing, saving everything. The stack of papers grew thicker than our actual wedding binder, her own words piling up like bricks in a wall she'd eventually slam into. When her mother asked me if I was excited, I said yes. When my father slapped me on the back and said, "Almost there, son," I forced a smile. During the final venue walkthrough, she squeezed my hand and said, "This is really happening." But in the back of my mind, all I heard was, "This is the stage you will humiliate me on without ever raising your voice." I watched her try on her wedding dress. Her face softened in the mirror. She whispered, "I can't believe I get to marry my best friend." I stood behind her, adjusting her veil, thinking, "You really practiced this line for both of us, didn't you?" The night before the wedding, she went asleep early. I stayed up late, finalizing everything, my getaway plan, the envelope, the timing, the text drafts I'd send once everything was already in motion. I tucked the printed pages into a black folder, sealed it, and placed it inside my tuxedo jacket hanging by the door. I lay down next to her, watching her chest rise and fall. I realized I didn't love her anymore. Not in a dramatic way, not in a heartbroken way, just in the calm, quiet way someone realizes a door they kept pushing finally opens when they stop trying. Morning came too quickly. She woke up humming, light and excited. I made her coffee. She kissed me and said she was nervous about her vows because they mattered so much. I smiled, told her she'd do great. In truth, I had already replaced her vows with the printed messages. Each page trimmed neatly, glued into the vow booklet the coordinator had given her. Her handwriting on the cover, "To the love of my life." Inside, her messages about leaving me. The timelines. Her fantasies with her ex. The coldest lines I'd ever read from someone I once trusted. The venue was stunning that day. Her family glowing. My parents emotional. Guests filling the chairs. The music starting. I stood at the altar, calm in a way that made me feel detached from my body. She walked toward me, radiant, smiling like she was stepping into the life she believed she deserved. When she reached me, she squeezed my hands. The officiant welcomed everyone. People leaned forward, ready for the vows. Then the coordinator stepped up to hand us the booklets. She opened hers first. Her face changed so fast it was almost audible. The sharp drop of her smile, the confusion, the panic, the widening eyes as she saw her own words staring back at her. Her body stiffened. Her mouth fell open. Her hands began to shake. She whispered, barely audible, "What is this?" I leaned slightly forward and said quietly, so only she could hear, "Your vows." Her breath hitched. She looked around, completely disoriented. Her parents were smiling proudly, unaware. My family watching. Guests leaning in. She tried to close the booklet, but her fingers fumbled. Her voice cracked when she whispered, "Please," like she was begging for the script to change. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse her. I didn't give her a speech. I simply turned to the officiant, nodded politely, and stepped back. "I won't be continuing this." The venue went silent. People gasped. She reached out for my arm. But I stepped away. I walked down the aisle alone, past the stunned guests, past the whispers, past the cameras people had lowered in shock. Outside, my car was already waiting. Inside the passenger seat was the envelope containing every piece of evidence. I had her bags packed in the trunk from earlier that morning, dropped off at her apartment with a note that said only, "You knew exactly when you planned to leave me. I'm just giving you the head start you never expected." I drove away before the chaos fully began. My phone vibrated nonstop, calls, texts, frantic messages from her maid of honor, her dad, the coordinator. I didn't answer any of them. At the first red light, I opened her final text. "Please, we need to talk. I don't know what you think you saw, but I can explain, please." I deleted it. Behind me, somewhere in the distance, her entire double life was imploding in real time. Ahead of me was everything else. Update. When I finally got home after leaving her at the altar, I expected silence. Maybe shock. Maybe rage. But not what I heard when I opened the door. Her parents sitting in my living room, both pale, both shaking, both looking at me like I'd detonated a bomb they didn't know they'd been sitting on. They asked me why. why I humiliated their daughter, why I destroyed the wedding. I didn't raise my voice. I just handed them the thick stack of printed messages, the same ones I'd placed on the altar. Her mother's hands trembled as she flipped through the pages. Her father stopped at the first screenshot containing the phrase, "Once he pays for everything, I'll leave." My ex promised he'll move in with me. I just need the ring and the honeymoon money first. Her mom closed the folder like it burned her. Her dad whispered, "My God." That was the first time I realized they didn't know. They weren't covering for her. They were blindsided too. Her mom kept saying, she wouldn't, but the evidence was right there, line by line, in her daughter's own words. When they left, I finally collapsed. Not out of heartbreak, but out of the strange, hollow exhaustion that comes after you've been holding a collapsing building upright with your bare hands. I'd spent so long convincing myself that the red flags were misunderstandings, that the distance was stress, that the weird moments of coldness were temporary. And now every tiny doubt I'd pushed down echoed back like a warning I never listened to. 2 days later, she finally tried to contact me. First it was texts. "I swear it's not what you think." Then it was voice messages, crying, screaming, bargaining. Then it was her showing up at my work, her makeup streaked, her dress from the wedding still in her car, like she'd been living out of it. She demanded I talk to her. I didn't. When she realized I wasn't coming outside, she shouted loud enough for the entire building to hear. It wasn't serious. It wasn't real. I wasn't actually going to leave you. And that, hearing her say that, made something inside me finally click into place. She didn't deny the messages. She didn't deny the plan. She didn't deny using me. She only denied the intention behind it, like the betrayal was somehow softer if she decided later not to follow through. Her parents pulled her away. They apologized to my boss. They apologized again to me. Her father told me quietly, "Son, thank you for not marrying her. I wish we'd known sooner." But the truth is, I wish I'd known myself sooner. I wish I'd trusted my instincts the first time she hit her phone. The first time she flinched when her ex's name appeared. The first time I felt like I was trying to carry a relationship she wasn't even holding on to with one hand. The story didn't end that day. Of course it didn't. Someone who manipulates like she does doesn't just walk away. They orbit. They circle. They try to rewrite the truth until it suits them again. I thought printing the messages was the end. I was wrong. It was only the beginning of her unraveling. Final update. The final chapter of all this didn't come with some dramatic confrontation. There was no screaming match on a sidewalk, no courtroom-style reveal, no perfectly timed moment where the universe handed justice on a silver platter. Instead, it came slowly, quietly, like the end of a fever, when your body finally stops shaking and you realize how sick you actually were. About 3 weeks after the non-wedding, I got a message from her best friend. We weren't close, but she'd always been polite, until she sent me a 2-page apology. She said she'd known about some of the messages. Not all of them, but enough to feel guilty. Enough to be ashamed. She wrote that my ex never planned to marry me for the right reasons, that she treated the engagement like a strategic victory, a financial plan, a way to secure the lifestyle she deserved. Her words, not mine. The friend said she hoped I'd heal, and that I'd never take her back. That would have been a ridiculous thing to even consider, except my ex was still trying. Every week, another number, another email, another attempt to twist the truth. One day she'd send paragraphs about how much she loved me, how she made a mistake, how she was confused. The next day she'd accuse me of publicly humiliating a woman who only needed reassurance. The day after that she'd blame her ex, blame stress, blame the wedding pressure, blame everything but the one person who actually wrote those words, herself. And I didn't respond. Not once. Silence became my shield, and for the first time in a long time, I realized how powerful it was to simply not let someone back into your life. Healing wasn't dramatic. It was just choosing myself every day, in small ways that felt like breathing again. I deleted the joint honeymoon email. I refunded what I could. I kept the rest as a reminder that not every loss needs to be grieved. Some losses are escapes. But the real ending came unexpectedly. I was having coffee alone, enjoying the kind of morning you don't appreciate until you've been living in emotional survival mode. Sunlight, a quiet table, no one checking my phone, no knot in my stomach. And then she walked in, not dressed to impress, not glowing with bridal confidence, just small, deflated, a version of herself that didn't exist before the fallout. She froze when she saw me. Her eyes filled instantly, not with love, not with longing, but with the realization of something she never imagined. I wasn't hers anymore. Not even a little. She walked over slowly, like someone approaching a grave they weren't ready to visit. I just wanted to say I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't say, I forgive you. I didn't say, I hate you. I didn't say anything dramatic or cruel. I simply looked at her with a calmness that came from surviving something I didn't know was killing me. You don't owe me another explanation, I said, and I don't owe you another chance. She nodded, tears falling before she could stop them. She opened her mouth like she wanted to argue, to rewrite the story again, but she didn't. For the first time since everything started, she accepted something she couldn't twist or manipulate. I was gone, and the part that surprised even me, I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel vindication. I felt free, truly, quietly free. She left the cafe first. I watched her walk out, her shoulders folded inward, her reflection shrinking in the glass. It was the last time I ever saw her. When I finished my coffee, I stepped outside, breathed in the cold air, and realized something simple, something grounding, something that felt like closure. I hadn't been left at the altar. I had walked away from a future that would have destroyed me. And that will always be the best decision I ever made.